Hello everyone, welcome back to the final episode of Wuggers Shaping History. Recap. Where we had left off, Fremont was just elected president, and now it's looking like he might just get rid of slavery. And this has really scared the South. They get together, they make their own constitution, and they call themselves the Confederate States. So now we're having a civil war, and now they're looking to recruit more. There's 3 states down south of the Rio Grande, and they want to stay neutral, but the South offers them independence if they win the war. So they join up with the South. Things are not looking great for Fremont. Even though he was a cowboy back in his day and he got in a few scuffles with some Native Americans, he doesn't really know how to fight a proper war, but neither does the South. So the first several battles for both sides are kind of a mess. But out of nowhere, the South takes Washington, D.C. And honestly, that's okay because the Union moved their capital city to New York. But all of a sudden, things are looking even worse for the Union. Because France hates the Union, so they start supporting the Confederacy. But thankfully for the Union, they have better luck in the high seas. They managed to blockade the Confederacy and take their largest city, New Orleans. But honestly, Fremont was hoping to be doing better by this point, and he's up for re-election. His opponent is saying he'll end the war early if he gets elected, but thankfully Fremont remains president. And then the Union takes back Washington, D.C., and then they take the Confederate capital of Richmond, and then they try to take the Mississippi River, but they fail at Vicksburg. But that's okay, because General Sherman burns down the entire state of Georgia. So the South is like, oh, these people are fucking insane, maybe we should just call it quits. So they do. And now, since we burnt down the entirety of Georgia, it's time for Reconstruction. And not just a aesthetic one, but a cultural and economic one too. So they never leave the Union again. Now, there's 2 ways that this can go. Normal Reconstruction, which is what Fremont has been doing for the rest of his term, or Radical Reconstruction, which is where you go crazy with it. So the country picks Abraham Lincoln for their next president, someone who's very into Radical Reconstruction. Now, while this is all well and good, we're meant to be repaying the debt from the Civil War. And the pencil pushers over at the Bank of the United States are saying that if we don't stop, we're gonna have massive debt, but the North doesn't care, and they really just want to punish the South. So the country elects someone who's even more radical. Benjamin Butler. He was a remarkably incompetent general during the Civil War, and now he's trying his hand at politics. Under Butler, things got pretty bad. The nation enters a recession, and it's looking like debt is even more inevitable. And the people who are most impacted are the recently freed slaves who are having to go back to their previous owners in order to survive. So, understandably, people are pretty upset about this. So in 1876, Hayes beats Butler for the presidency. And he came up with a big plan to both fight the recession and help the freedmen, and pay off the debt, all at the same time. His plan works, and people love him so much they elect him again. Now, there's a big populist movement, and they want a bunch of shit. They want silver currency because it's cheaper than gold. They want everyone to stop being so drunk all the goddamn time. They want better working conditions. They want politics to be less corrupt. But most of all, they fucking hate the railroad companies. They're overcharging farmers and have all sorts of bullshit rules. Plus, they have a bunch of land that they're not even using, and the farmers can't do shit about it because of the railroad monopoly. So in 1880, they elect Hendricks, who says he'll reform the economy while continuing the Hayes debt plan. He also tries to fight the railroad companies, but they have their grubby hands all over Congress, so it's no use. Still, he's able to create a nationwide uniform paper currency, which is pretty cool. But Hendricks was only the warm-up round for the Democrats. The real deal is William Jennings Bryan. He gives a big speech about how you will not crucify mankind on a cross of gold. He really hates gold. And the people were like, yeah, this guy is good. And he gets elected. And he passes a bunch of really cool laws. Like one that lets the US make silver coins instead of gold. And actually successfully goes up against the railway companies. And then the United States briefly goes to war with Spain and kicks their ass and steals a bunch of their colonies. The rest of the world looks at William Jennings Bryan and is like, whoa, this guy's good. And for once, we're leaving the video off where there isn't a impending disaster. It's the year 1900, the turn of the century, and anything can happen. Wuggers shaping history forever.